Hello, 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 hello. This is Pastor Larry with Let's Talk Marriage. Let's talk about it. On today's subject, we're going to be talking about the blended family. Now, blended families are a normal thing nowadays because most of the times when you meet someone, they're going to have a child or children, and women might have children or one child, or same thing with the fellows. They might have a kid or one kid or two kids or even sometimes three kids. And when you decide to marry that guy with the or that husband or that wife with the kid, when you decide to marry, then you become a blended family. You know, when you watch TV back in the the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, they had the Brady Bunch on, where they had the blended family, and everybody relatively got along, and and they had little instances, but it was nothing really serious. And they had the little talk at the end of the show, and we bound together, we can move mountains, you know. It was the 60s, 70s, Brady Bunch. But, you know, in reality, in real life, when you have blended families, a lot of times it don't go all that smooth like they did on in the Brady Bunch. You have a difference. You're getting two sets of kids getting together that don't know the other kid, and that's why it's a good thing to get to know the other siblings before you decide to marry with a blended family. You don't want to bring home a stranger. You have to know these people. You bringing home a stranger. This your new daddy. But you have to make sure that the kids know him, and make sure that the kids are respecting him and getting along with him. Same thing with the wife. Make sure that your kids are respecting her and getting along with her. Because a lot of times as they get older, kids kind of change. At first, they are all doing things together as families. And then as they get older, they have their own friends, and then they kind of, start hanging with them. And then, when they don't want to be, with the mom and dad, is not cool anymore. But, while you coming up with them when they're young, make sure that they're respecting the stepmom or the stepdad, and make sure that there's, a lot of love in the home, and don't be playing favors with one kid over the other one. And ladies, please let this new husband discipline. I'm not talking about abuse or nothing like that, but let him discipline your man child. Because, a lot of times the women get in a relationship and they have a son, and, and he don't respect the new stepfather, and she won't let him or talk to him about respecting the new stepfather. Then that causes a lot of controversy, and you ain't my daddy, and I hate you, and all that stuff like that. And it just escalates into arguments, and even sometimes breaking up homes. So we have to make sure that, ladies, you let, especially if he's a good guy. If he's a good guy, he's going to be the one that teach him, when he's not with his biological father. He's going to be the one to teach him how to be a man, and how to function in the world, and what to expect. So because you as women, you can't be, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, I was both mama and daddy. No, you can't be both mama and daddy. Just like a man can't just be both daddy and mama, So a man has to teach his son. And when you have a stepfather, let him teach his son, because he's not going to always be around his biological father, depending on how you have that set up. So you let him teach him about life, and so especially if he's a good guy, and if you married him, most of the time he's gonna be a good guy. Make sure that there's plenty of respect in the home, and a lot of love in the home, and make sure you do things together as a blended family. That's how the kids get to know each other, and if it's done right, then they won't even look at their step siblings as step brother and sister. They just tell people, "Oh, that's my brother. Oh, that's my sister." If they get along, if the household is full of love and sharing, and make sure they learn how to share and not be selfish. My daddy bought me this, and you can't play with it. If you buy one something, you buy all of them something. For instance, you won't go because you take both of them out. One's your biological kid and the other one's your step kid. You buy your biological kid an ice cream cone, and then then don't get the other kid that builds up animosity between the two kids, and then there's a sibling rivalry gets started. That's how those get started, like that, within the blended families. And I've seen some where they actually got to physically fighting and all that, and all that can be avoided if you show love in the family, and take them places, and when they're coming, especially when they're young, because as they get older, then they're going to drift off and start hanging with their friends. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's part of life. You develop, but you still make sure you have that family time where you guys do things together, have vacations that you go on together. And when you do things like that together, then the family becomes closer, because you have something to talk about when you get together. And if you don't see them all the time, you have something to talk about. And when you're living in that same household with them, because sometimes they don't live in the same household, but when they're living in the same household with each other, the blended family, make sure they, you take them places and teach them things about life together, and make sure that they're respecting each other and not disrespecting your wife or disrespecting the husband and the family, because, kids will play, they'll ask one thing and then go ask mama one thing. Mama say no, then they'll go ask daddy, especially if their daddy's favorite, And, because most of the times when the Lord gives you a soulmate, a lot of times if you are young, sometimes even when you're young, you either one gonna have a child, and if you happen to marry someone that does not have children and you have children, make sure that it's someone that is going to love your children just like you love them, as if they were his own. That's how we have to choose these people. Don't then again, you just let the Lord choose them for you, because we get messed up. We get in ourselves, and we start looking at the wrong thing just because you think he cool. You think he gonna make a good father. But just because somebody cool don't mean they're going to make a good father. And you can't make a player into a father, or you can't make a woman that's a wayward woman into a housewife. So that's why we have to make sure that when we're blending these families, that we take everything in consideration, not just the two adults. You have to take the children in consideration as well, even if they're young kids, because when you bring them in, they're going to be the ones that's around that step parent most of the time. And then when they leave, and like sometimes if they have visitation with their natural or biological mother or father, then they'll go on the weekends and stuff. And sometimes they have different rules with different families. One family might be more lax than the other family, and then they'll come back with some attitudes and stuff. But you have to make sure that you let them know that you're there for them, and you're going to always be there for them in when you have the blended families. Make sure that you're taking them to church. A lot of it seems to be a dying thing now to go to church. Nobody wants to go, but you know what? Go to church. Take them to church, and a lot of times when you get to the churches, they'll have Sunday school and other programs that they can get involved in with other children, and they might run into kids that are in the same situation that they're in, and then have a lot in common with them. And even with the blended families, you might find that your children and your spouse's children have a lot in common, and they can easily get along. And especially if they see how you are getting along as a husband and wife. If you're getting along as husband and wife, they're going to naturally get along because there's nothing else to do, but they're going to see how well you're treating. But if you arguing a lot in front of them, those are my kids, they ain't your kids, don't put your hand on them, don't, ever do anything like that, because as soon as you do that, then they're going to start using that and cause more confusion in the family. And sometimes when you have these blended families, you can do everything in the world for them, and they still have some kind of thing that, that's not my mama, that's not my daddy, But learn to appreciate where you at and in the situation that you're in, because there's a lot of kids there in the foster system that wish they had a stepmother or even a father or a figure in their life. So you have to make sure that we're appreciating as blended families and children in the household. Make sure the mother and the father are getting along and loving on each other, because when the kids see the mother and father loving on each other, then they're going to get along as step siblings, and they'll get along, and then they'll, at school, that's my sister, that's my brother, When I was coming up, I only had a brother, and I always wanted a sister. So it's always cool to have if you was in a family that you didn't have a sister, and all of a sudden, your mother or father marry someone that has a daughter, and then all of a sudden you have a sister there. And then, that makes it a complete family. And make sure that you're taking them to church, taking them on vacations, because when you go on vacations, that's a way to register memories in their minds when we were, things they can look back on as an adult, or when they're grown and say, we used to go here and we had so much fun. And I remember going to Kittyland, just little simple things. And, plan a grand trip with the blended family, because that's how you get away and enjoy each other. And when they get in an argument, don't take sides. Always be neutral. Hear both sides and listen to both sides, and always be neutral. Don't, your kids just bad. When you married that man, you had some baby kids, and then now that he came along and wanted to set a few rules, and they don't understand that, because they used to have their way, because you used to let them have their way, and now all of a sudden the man is just not no harsh rules, just normal rules. Clean up your room, pick up this, and they're not used to that. All of a sudden he mean. If he's not mean to the kids, then then you have to make them respect him. And same thing, vice versa with the wife. The husband has to make sure his kids are respecting her. And if they don't want to call her mom, just call her. Find out. Just ask. what can I call you? If you get close enough to them and want to call them mom or dad, that's fine too. But if you don't want to call them, then just ask them. Well, what should I call you? And talk to your step siblings and or your blended family kids or your step kids. Make sure as parents that you talk to them. The ladies, especially if the guy has a daughter and he marries you, and she's got a stepmom, so make sure you're close with her and talking with her, and because the blended families can work, and they've worked for years, and there's some that didn't work, but for the most part they work, and most of the times when you meet someone, they're going to have kids. So get over that. It's hard to find someone that don't have any kids nowadays. There's nothing wrong with that. So when you meet someone or your soulmate, if they already have a child, just look at it as a blessing. And then when you have one together, then they'll have a little brother or sister, and then just make it a happy home. So this is Pastor Larry, and we were talking about blended families. Until we meet again, this is Pastor Larry signing off, saying God bless you and enjoy your day.